Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode number 6, I believe, of the Your Land, Your Lifestyle podcast, presented to you by Land and Lifestyle Properties, right here in downtown Evansville, Wisconsin. We've been off the air for quite a while,
3 weeks, I think.
3 weeks.
Since our grand opening.
We've had a couple things going on. Yeah, let's start there. Let's just what we're going to do today is just give you a brief rundown of all the BS.
Life's thrown our way.
Life's thrown our way, and maybe a little bit about how it's applicable to real estate.
And your life.
we lived it.
Yeah.
We had a podcast not too long ago about end of life planning and how it relates to your property and your assets and
all the achy stuff with the family and how that all plays out and kind of how it ends on a
right.
bad note most times.
And here we are in it. But actually we're out of it. So we had our grand opening on May the 10th. It's now the second week of June. Kids are out of school and we're just, I wouldn't say we're back to normal, but we're
trying to find the new normal again.
Trying to find a new normal, yeah, for sure.
So our grand opening went amazing. Christopher Gold came in and played and recorded a podcast. He was incredible. Everything that he stands for, his family, his kid, the traveling, his story, I just love everything about.
Good guy.
Yeah, just great people in general. They just loved Evansville and the small town vibes, and right away was the coffee shop next door, and but they really liked town, and they really liked we had a really good turnout. They just were a good vibe with what we were going for.
Just overall, like you said, a good guy. I had the opportunity to sit down, Hunter and I, recorded a podcast with him, and he was super interesting. And although he, in the grand scheme of things, isn't a huge deal in terms of a recording artist, he's really played for and opened for some big names like Johnny Cash, for instance. And I think we talked about that on the podcast. But all that said, none of that had gone to his head, and he still
very humble.
Lived life very realistically and logically, and travels with his family. It was a good time, and it turned out to be a great night. And I think we had probably, 50 to 100 people here over the course of the day.
Believe it or not, it was in Wisconsin, and we have a lot of beer left over.
Like 5 cases. So if anyone needs some beer.
Next closing gift, Spotted Cow.
Right, exactly. And then from there, it went downhill.
It went downhill fast. Yeah, actually, we were cleaning up from our grand opening, and as the dust was settling, I remember looking at you and asking where your sister Andrea was. She is a huge part of our life, obviously, and we why did she send an email? Well, then next day she's planning flying out of the door that she was being med flighted.
Yeah. She was being med flighted, and
didn't really know why. They just thought
the truck and drove to Madison, and through the course of all the health issues that we've dealt with particularly with respect to my mom, I had probably gotten a little calloused in that I had been to the hospital so many times, and it wasn't as big of a deal as what was made out of it, prior to us getting there. And then we actually,
if we didn't get Andrea landing in a helicopter on recording, she would have had us by our ass. So we knew we had to get that for her. In for her.
Yeah, and she loved to fly, so we recorded it, and the helicopter landed, and we went to the room, and very quickly realized that it wasn't a good situation, but we've heard of all of come out of it without a whole lot of trouble, and I just kind of expected that when
She's
we got
43
done.
years old. She's healthy.
Right.
She loves to run off of cliffs with a barn fan strapped to her back and fly through the air. And she wasn't afraid of anything. So Andrea just kind of, yelling at me and giving me orders. So it was just kind of like Andrea's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then within 2 hours, she was in surgery, and then we would quickly realize that it was not going to be okay.
Yeah, it was a bit shocking when the surgeons came to us. I think we got there at about 9 o'clock in the evening because it was still the sun was setting. It was actually a really good video of her landing, and never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that a surgeon would sit down with us at 4 o'clock in the morning and say, it didn't go well.
We did everything we could. You hear that, right, on movies, and here we're sitting across, and it's real life. And he's like, we did everything we could. We even went outside of protocol, and
Yeah.
they could not remove the clot, so it left her paralyzed. So we had some tough choices to make along the way of those tough choices. Fortunately, Andrea was able to talk all the way to the end, and she made all of her own decisions. And by the end of the week, we were having a funeral. So
Yeah. So
we kind of took a little time off to heal, and really, there's a lot of moving parts. We just sold her a house. She just closed on her first home, January 31st.
Yeah.
This year.
She made 3 payments before passing, and fortunately, where this kind of dovetails in with our previous podcast about the end of life planning and what you plan on doing with your estate, whether it's a big estate now or a small estate now, and you're planning on it being, it turned out that all of the things that we told her to do, she did.
Yep. She had her last will. She basically had a roadmap for us.
All of those end of life directives, along with not just her health care, but her property.
So
her
the
real
big
property.
The big question. Okay, so she just bought a house. What do we do? I mean, she hadn't even unpacked everything yet. She had been doing some remodeling and stuff like that to the house. So here, in that end of life, she had set up a transfer on death. And what that are now a homeowner, and we have a lot of decisions to make. So in this very short period of time, we have listed her home, hosted open houses, and we have it under contract, and we'll have it closed here in the next couple of weeks. So
I was going to add they own a home, they just don't own a whole lot of the home.
So the questions for them were, what do we do? And she just bought it. So she took advantage of every program there was out there. Obviously she had us at her fingertips. So any program that was out there, anything that was in her benefit, seller credit to cover her closing costs, you name it, we got it for her. So as far as having equity in the home, that's where, Jason and I have to sit down and start crunching numbers and figure out where we need to list this home to cover all the expenses of selling this home, so these boys don't end up having to bring any money into closing. And we're going to be able to do that. So,
yeah.
And that's just taking the proper steps, making sure you're listing it right, staging, making sure the photography and media and all of your advertising's on point. And we found the perfect buyer that, honestly, she's been waiting for this house to come on the market. So the timing worked out that she put her house on the market, found out about this one, and it's going to be a good ending. Tough all around. the home's still filled with all of Andrea's things. She was a 43-year-old adventurous. So kayaks and, we gotta sort through all of that stuff and figure out what to do. So there's a lot of moving parts with that. But the biggest thing that she did for us, in my opinion, is she had directions. We knew what she wanted and how to get to the end. So we're on our way, but we've been a little busy, which is why there's been a little gap in podcast recording here. So
Yeah,
we're glad to be back
real estate
here.
didn't slow down during that time, and we're thankful for the team that we have, and for those of you that helped us, how important you were and are, and will be the next time we need you. So I guess there's a couple different messages here.
For us to be able to step away, though, and everything to continue to just move smoothly. All of our clients were just amazing through all of it. Our entire staff, team, agents, everybody was like family. Everybody that stepped up, we just really appreciate it.
Yeah, we dealt with some great clients during that time. Definitely a thing. It was everybody as to why we went underground,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah.
But things are not back to normal.
And I think the other part is that we recognize with ourselves is our business kind of helped us stay afloat. It was kind of our life preserver through it, because it was being able to step out of reality of our life
Right.
to step into business, and it was refreshing. It was so nice to have all of that, because I think if it would have been, that downtime in the market, it would have been way harder on us. But having all of that distraction and all of the moving parts, it helped us just kind of float through. So
Right. And it's certainly not a positive of my sister passing, but it helped us go through the process again that we've talked about so many times. And every time we've gone through the process, we've learned something new. And, this time again, I can't pick one particular thing that we learned that was new. I don't know if you can or not, but the one thing that I just want to get across to people is that if you just have a will, and not that a will isn't enough,
it's definitely important.
but a will becomes an issue or a legal document that can be enforced by an individual only when the estate is valued at more than $50,000. You're going to probate for that. And if you go to probate, you're going to get a letter that says, yes, I'm in charge. But if you don't go to probate and you don't have that letter that says you're the person to make decisions for this person's estate, then you don't have anything.
Nothing.
So I would encourage people to talk with their attorney. We dealt with a really good one from Wilson Law Group
out of Madison.
And we have no context as to what they're like prior to that, but they did a lot for my sister, and they did a lot to help us and guide us through the process. Even though we thought we knew what we were doing, and by and large we did, there were some nuances and little things that we didn't think of that.
There was one thing, I guess, that it's surfacing for me, is that when we were going through Andrea's will, the verbiage that's in the new wills about your all of your technology, all of your electronic devices, what happens to your files, who has access to those, and what's to be done with that. That was some interesting language that I had not seen before.
I'd never seen
Typically, when we're, I guess, for the most part, when people are passing away, we're talking elderly, right? In estates and trust and all that. But when it came with Andrea's, her being 43 years old, she had very specific direction with her electronics and what's to be done with all of her digital banking accounts and all of those cloud accounts that we have now out there. So I thought that was really important, an important piece today that has never really been shined a light on, I guess, in the past.
Absolutely. It was, it was something we hadn't seen before. We don't deal with a lot of 43-year-old people that have passed, and
but it's still personal property, right?
It is personal property, and it's something for you to consider. Yeah. So I guess there would be a lesson that we learned.
Definitely.
Don't forget to talk about your electronic documents. Don't forget to talk about
cloud banking, all of those financial things, and social media accounts, and all of that. So
do us all a favor and stay away from cloud banking,
please.
I don't.
Not a supporter of Chime. Sorry. If Credit Karma says that's a good idea,
if you
might want to ask your
think you're doing yourself
parents.
a favor by dealing with a bank that doesn't have a teller. Just understand that if you have a problem, you're going to be communicating solely through an internet connection, and that's it. Nothing else. They're
your
not.
Bank
going
doesn't
to
really
exist.
Exactly. They're a cloud.
So that's probably enough fun stuff, or not fun stuff. But we're heading out of here in just a little bit.
We are. We're heading up to Rice Lake. We're gonna go play in some mud, rent some UTVs, and just have some fun.
Beat the living daylights out of them.
Renting the machines so we don't have to fix them. That's the way that we're gonna roll. No, it's supposed to be a lot of fun. It's gonna be raining. It's been raining up there the last couple of days, so we don't have to eat dust the whole time. We can just have fun with all the mud and all the water that's standing right now.
Getting dirty.
Yes, I just want to go play in some mud and just Not have to wake up and be somebody tomorrow. That's pretty exciting. And then just enjoying Father's Day, and happy Father's Day to everybody that's out there. I hope you do something that's special to you and that you're passionate about. And for us, I think it's just being outside. And it was supposed to be a surprise. I'm not very good at surprising Jason. Wrenches tend to get thrown in, and I'm not. Well,
it's hard. It's hard in this business because we wanted Jackson to go with us, and it's so hard for us to plan anything in advance.
Everything has to be, we have to be the most spontaneous people. To do this business, you better be spontaneous. So.
Like where we're staying didn't come together until 2 hours ago.
Yep.
Because where we had wanted to stay, the lady contacted us and said, "Hey, my yard hasn't been mowed, and this
hot tub is dirty."
Yeah. So we just decided to go somewhere else, and so that's what we're going to do. But let's talk about a couple of things that we've got coming up in terms of listings.
We have a really new one up in Necedah.
Yeah, just south of Necedah off Highway 80. We'll have a 126 acres, 132 acres on that property. That's going to be split into 2 tracks. It can be sold as one, but there's going to be the ability to buy 62 acres on one, I believe, and give or take a few acres, and then 65, give or take a few acres.
Every one of them have structures. There's structures on all. Yep.
A really cool property in that if you've ever driven on Highway 80 to Necedah, just south of town, north of the solar farm, is a bunch of buildings that are close to the road, and it used to be a mini golf course. We learned on one side, a driving range on the other side, and then in the interior of the property, a little bit farther, then there's a barn and a bigger house.
It was like the homestead.
Yeah, that was homesteaded, and
there was a horse farm, or was it
a riding stable?
Riding stable, yep.
So I think we measured out about 8 acres of trails, but for the second time ever of all the properties that I've walked, Hunter and I, our meeting was with me, and he actually showed me a picture this morning where he had taken a picture of me walking through the timber, just trying to get the camera set up, and you can see in the picture at a distance a shed antler, and it's not just any shed antler. It's a nice 4-year-old deer, I would say.
Kind of makes you hold your breath for a little bit.
Yeah, and at that point in time, I didn't know it was there, and Hunter was messing around trying to get things set up, and I was walking back to the truck to get something, and I'm just like,
Freeze
And I didn't want to get
frame.
close to it. I'm like, Hunter, get the camera and hit record. And he did. And I walked up to it and pulled it up out of the ground. It had been there since probably mid to late February. As luck would have it, after we found it, we left it there for the landowner who has a son-in-law or son, I don't remember which one, that has a lab that they're training to find sheds. And so we told them exactly where it was, and they're going to bring the dog out there and find it. But anyway, long story short, those properties, or that property is going to be coming at you. What else have we got going on?
We have the Pewaukee auction.
Oh, yeah.
There's a preview this Wednesday.
Yep.
And the bids are due soon on that one, July.
That'll be the subject of the next podcast, not that property specifically, but we want to talk a little bit about folks that have, big plans about maybe developing their property. They call it transitional land, and developing their property into, say, some sort of residential or maybe a commercial development.
Anything other than agriculture, you're going to take it out of agriculture and transition it into another use.
Right, and we've learned some stuff through the years, whether it's a rural development that we're working on, and we've got a few of those, and then this bigger one down in Pewaukee that's 165 acres. That one's pretty involved, and there's a lot of things that have come up through that process that we want to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot of phases and a lot of breaking down, and I think that's for a whole show of its own.
It's in short, if you want to get into the development business, you better have some patience.
And a lot of knowledge.
A lot of knowledge.
Yes.
And a lot of knowledge.
What you don't know is the scariest part of that.
Right. And it's not so much what you don't know in general. It's what you don't know specifically about that township or that city or that village or that county.
Or that piece of property.
And oftentimes what you think is going to be the case based on your eyes and what you see isn't the case until you start diving into some of the software that we have that gives us things like, the FEMA floodplain, floodway, wetlands.
And I think a big part is really just going out and talking to people, talking to the townships, talking to if they have a zoning and planning department, those types of things, just to see what's already been done, what's been thought about.
Trying to get a feel for what municipalities will do in terms of their participation in the infrastructure that needs to be built for those kind of developments is huge. But
yeah,
we can save
stop
that
there.
for the next podcast. That's about all that we've got for this week. Tune in next week. We're going to be talking about something super, super exciting. That's transitional lands.
And we will definitely update you on how our weekend went.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who went the fastest and who broke the most expensive piece on the UTV.
Let's go to Black River Falls.
All right,
We're out.
Thanks, everybody.